Okay. Hello, I am Deb Coviello, the Drop-In CEO, and I am grateful again that you've dropped in to hear another podcast where I speak to Okay, I'm going to start this all over again.
Yeah. Oh, Deb, actually, one second. And just so we're clear, my name is Michelle, not Michael. I usually have to tell people this.
I
Um, yeah, so I usually start off with that because it's spelled like Michael, and often people call me Michael, but it's Michel Falcon.
Okay, got it. Michelle. My editor will know that we're going to very interesting. Okay, here we go. Thank you.
Yep.
Hello, I am Deb Coviello, the Drop-In CEO, and I am grateful you've joined us for another amazing episode where week after week I speak to leaders who share their insights with you and hopefully inspire you. I know I will be. And just know we create this podcast, this valuable resource to help C-suite leaders navigate their challenges with confidence. And today I am so excited to introduce to you Michel Falcon, who is a hospitality and restaurant entrepreneur, having grown successful restaurants in Toronto and New York. Michel is not a chef. He brings his operational expertise into the restaurant industry with a focus on company culture, employee performance, and customer experience management. Prior to owning restaurants, Michel was a solopreneur management consultant, having worked with companies like JP Morgan Chase, Verizon Wireless, Subway, and many others. But it is my privilege to welcome onto the show and have an amazing conversation. Michel, thank you for dropping in.
Deb, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And I am grateful to have been introduced to you because, quite frankly, I am a foodie. I love the restaurant business and your background in that industry, but also the purposeful work that you do. We're going to dive into some amazing topics, including talent density, pay transparency, and redefining profit. So exciting. But I am going to pass the mic to you for you to share about a bit about yourself personally and your backstory.
Yes, so a husband to Sophia, father to Maggie, my 7-year-old Rottweiler. Um, my parents live in Vancouver, Canada, along as as well as my sister. I always start there because often people will ask a professional like ourselves, Deb, and say, "Oh, what do you do? Who are you?" And then we immediately go to the career stuff, don't we? Whereas, before the career stuff and being a CEO, you're an individual, and that individual makes the CEO. So I'm very conscious in making sure that I describe myself first as a human, not just a CEO. I may have had the most unconventional career of anyone. I have never been a chef. I did not grow up thinking I was going to own restaurants. As a matter of fact, when I was in the 10th grade, my family suffered some financial hardship because my father was a restaurateur and unfortunately made one wrong deal that sent him into bankruptcy. So one might think, well, why are you in restaurants? Shouldn't you be have trauma from it? And I'll unpack that more in a moment. But I was in business school in Vancouver, where I was raised, and I realized quickly I was not an academic. And I don't say that proudly. I just don't learn well in academia. And at the time, there were two very popular companies to work for in Vancouver. 1-800 Got Junk, a $500 million company, franchise based in Vancouver, and Lululemon. One may have seemed like the more appealing one to join, junk removal or globally known athletic wear. And I actually chose 1-800 Got Junk. So I postponed my academia life, didn't finish my business administration degree because I wanted to go work for an entrepreneur and learn and contribute and get paid. And That would be my real world MBA. And I chose 1-800 Got Junk after interviewing with both, got offers from both companies. But I really felt like I could establish a relationship with the CEO of the company, which I did. And my South American, very loving and phenomenal parents, Rosa and Raul, you could imagine how they received my message and telling them I'm not going to go to business school anymore. I'm going to work for a garbage company. Yeah. Being South American, for them at least, it's, go the traditional, safe, low risk path, get your degree. We worked really hard to come to this country. But I said, trust me. And they did. I really gave myself to my career as a wide-eyed young professional, early 20s. I got promoted 5 times in 5 years, and did a lot of great things there. And 1-800 Got Junk was my real world MBA. I accomplished a lot. I hope that I contributed a lot as well. And at the time, I realized that my expertise was actually going to be company culture and customer experience. And at the time, those were topics that weren't as applauded as they are now. But when Andy Got Junk in Canada, at least, and I would argue North America, was one of kind of the founding fathers of company culture. And I spent 5 years there. 2012, I resigned and I started a management consulting company. I moved back in with my parents to save some money because I didn't know when the next paycheck was going to be. And my first client was somebody I'm still in touch with today named Lauren, a $3 million business at the time in 2012, called Ferguson Moving and Storage. And then my second client was a $100 billion company, Verizon Wireless. And that was, when they say like, some might have been like, I'm not ready for that. And I wasn't. But I said, you don't turn this down. And I don't think they knew that I was in my mid 20s living with my parents and like I had a company, but not really. But I had an expertise, which was undeniable. I know how to build system and processes to get your employees and your customers to fall in love with your company. And I did that for a few years and it was fun. It was very fun, mid 20s traveling all over the world, getting paid very generously, 98% margins, just phenomenal. I I moved out of my parents' house quite soon. And but then it got lonely. I was a one-man show. I missed what I have now, working on a team, collaborating, building. Because as a management consultant, I was solving other people's problems, and again, I was paid well, but that's not everything. It can't be. And I get a phone call, 2016, from a friend in Toronto. We had always wanted to work together. He said, "Why don't you come and do some consulting for us? We're opening up this massive restaurant in the heart of Toronto." And I said, "Sure." It was a 3-month engagement. Moved to Toronto for that 3 months. I was now 30, and 3 months turned into 6 months, turned into, do you want to be a partner? So I, divested from my management consulting company and invested in a hospitality organization. And we went from zero to nearly 200 employees and zero to nearly $20 million in revenue in about a year and a half. That was very challenging. And that's when my whole restaurant life, kicked off. And I was still doing keynote speaking at the time. I wrote a book in 2018, which was released on my birthday, called People First Culture, Building a Lasting Business by Shifting Your Focus from Profits to People. And 2019 came along, and my priorities changed and my lifestyle changed. So being 30 in a new city like Toronto, owning very popular restaurants and cocktail lounges, there's a certain cachet to that. But then when you realize that you like going to bed at 9 p.m. rather than going out at 9 p.m., um, I have to really enjoy how I make an income. and it's started to get a little bit fleeting for me. So I started thinking about what's next. If this isn't it, what's next? And I know it sounds like a movie, but or very serendipitous, which it was. I was walking home, and in Toronto, there's a street called Front Street West and University, and there's a Starbucks right next door to a Chipotle, and that's when it hit me. I'm of Canadian Peruvian descent, and Peruvian food, if you know food, is has been very popular and well received. And right now, being 2024, it's starting to really get notoriety all over the world. So, a couple quick facts about Peruvian cuisine: superfood capital of the world, the potato capital of the world with 4,000 different types. Nobu restaurants are Japanese Peruvian. It goes on and on and on. Two of the top 10 restaurants in the world are in Peru right now. Peruvian tourism, gastronomy tourism to the country is exploding. And if you know food, you know Peruvian food. It just hasn't been marketed to North Americans in a way that's scalable. And that was my eureka moment when I literally looking at the illuminated exterior signage of Starbucks and Chipotle. I was like, that's what I have to do. Because say what you will about Starbucks, but they did create a brand around Italian coffee. Say what you will about Chipotle. They really popularize um, pico de gallo and things that may derive from Mexican cuisine to North Americans. And they both created a North American appealing brand. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. And I went and brainstormed and like I just quite literally sped walk home. I entered my home and my wife, girlfriend at the time, greeted me. And I was like, not right now, not right now. I have to, like, my mind is just rushing with thoughts, scribbling what this brand could be. And then, I told my partners that I was going to be divesting and I wanted to do another thing and they'd be more than welcome to join me. But, I want this to be my thing. And then the pandemic happened, didn't it? Stopped me dead in my tracks and said, you're not doing anything. And I was trapped in Peru for 8 weeks because I was there doing some research, meeting with farmers and fishermen and art historians to understand what this brand's going to be like. And that was at the end of February, beginning of March. Quite dramatic start to the company. The Canadian government had to send repatriation flights to Peru to get some Canadians out of there. Thankfully, I was in Lima. If you were anywhere else other than Lima in Peru at the time, you were stuck there for months and months. I actually know somebody I went to high school with was stuck there for like 6 months. So that was the start of this new company. But eventually we opened our first location on Peruvian Independence Day, July 28th, 2021, as a ghost kitchen pop-up. The first retail store came in December of that year. Now we have 5 locations, two being in New York, 3 being in Toronto, all corporately owned, and a 6th coming in Midtown Manhattan. Still do keynote speaking on the topics of leadership, company culture, customer experience, and I do some coaching as well. So once a week, I meet with people that want to be coached on these expertise, competencies, and strategies. And I call it Teams by Michel Falcon. And I teach you how to build your strongest team ever in 9 weeks or less.
Mm.
That is everything summarized since 2007 and hopefully just a fraction of time. It's always bizarre talking about your resume, isn't it? It's never going to get comfortable, but that's who I am. I'm also a Vancouver Canucks fan, a diehard one, to my ever dismay.
Oh, this is like we were talking before the show, like what we prefer in a conversation Q&A, or let's talk about your backstory. And you know what? We're going to spend the next 10, 15 minutes going into your backstory. There are so many nuggets here. As for hockey, not so much a hockey fan. I'm a curler, which is also something done a lot in Canada. We could talk about hockey and curling, but we're going to go a little bit deeper into your backstory. One thing that
Sure.
always amazes me when I think about people that I'm supporting, whether it's a CEO or somebody up and coming in their career, that some people have a can do attitude and say, Mom and Dad, trust me, versus others hold themselves back. And I just want to understand where you made the decision, leave business school. I'm going to jump into got junk. I'm going to jump into the restaurant business after your buddy calls you. What is it about you and your DNA or somebody in your life that gives you the can do versus the cannot?
If it's been done before, I think I can do it as well. I'm not risk averse. I have a very high tolerance for risk, but it's not foolish. I look at it and ask myself a series of questions. Am I going to enjoy doing this thing? Am I confident in my ability to actually influence the outcome of what may or may not happen? And then I just do it. I, I was told many times not to start Brasa Peruvian Kitchen, which is the fast casual brand that I started during the pandemic. I was told not to reveal our team members' pay system wide. If I feel it in my bones, Deb, I'm gonna do it. Assuming that it's legal and lawful. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things I think my parents really instilled in me and it's just confidence. My dad is a very confident man. And I think even as a child, that just seeped into my DNA and my pores. Believe me, everything I just described there from 2007 until today has come with hardship as well. And, when you start a business, especially as a solo founder and CEO, it's like how much punishment can you take? And the universe is going to have you tap out, want to tap out and give up. Um, I don't. I just don't give up. But I think that I mitigate that risk by making sure I am doing some sort of risk assessment before I do
Okay.
the thing that I want to do. So the tolerance of being able to withstand headwinds as you're growing a business
Mm.
or growing your career within that organization, the headwinds will turn into tailwinds. And I'm thankful that I have some tailwinds right now.
So, I'm so grateful for those comments because I too am forever on a journey. I've got a lot of people that say, Deb, keep going. We love working with you. We love what your brand stands for. But I had a conversation with one of my coaches the other day, and I'm saying, oh, this person says, they make seven figures, or this person says I got 1 million followers. And I said, I am so confident in myself. I know what I'm doing, how I'm in service is valued. But how do you deal with things like that when you hear people saying those things? And they said to me something quite honest. I said, they may sound like they talk a big talk. I said, but you don't know about the preceding 10, 15, or 20 years that they had to work hard, learn those hard lessons, and
Mhm.
finally arrive at a place where they have more tailwinds. So,
Yeah, I'm not familiar with overnight successes, unless you happen to buy Bitcoin at the right time, perhaps. But even then, and I hope my you could hear the resentment in my voice for not buying Bitcoin when I should have. But um, it's just the confidence, the belief in yourself, and easier said than done. Look, Deb, I'd be lying if I told you that there was at no point did I think, is this going to work? My wife has had to be there to console me when I'm like, I don't know if I can keep handling this because the restaurant business, oh my goodness, especially during the pandemic in Toronto, the most locked down city in the world outside of China, like that was you thought going from zero to nearly 20 million in sales in a year and a half or 200 employees was hard. Building a restaurant in Toronto during the pandemic uh, superseded that by 10x in terms of difficulty. But if companies like Sweet Green or Kava or Chipotle, all three companies that I greatly admire, can do it, I'm going to give a good shot at it as well.
So the other thing that I really love about what you say is that you took a risk at going into not pursuing your MBA, going into the junk business, but you said that over that time you really developed an expertise in culture and customer experience, for which then you realize some success with Verizon. Tell me a little bit more about you as a person and how you became an expert in those areas, even with a story, because I want my listeners to really understand Michelle and what you stand for and your value before we go into a couple other topics. So, culture and customer experience.
Yeah, so when I joined 1-800 Got Junk, I worked in the call center. I was one of many people that answered 100 calls a day. And I knew that I wasn't going to be a call center professional my entire career. But that was my foot in the door. And I just knew that once I got into the company, something would expose itself that really attracted me. So I was thinking about marketing, PR. I thought there's a lot of those, aren't there? And then I kept hearing about the organization talking about company culture, company culture. Okay, great. Well, what's the strategy behind that? Right? There are mechanics and system and process and SOPs and all these things to help build a company culture. An architect builds a home with a blueprint. CEOs build company cultures with a blueprint. So how can I learn the blueprint? So that was one thing. And then I realized that, wait a second, part of the reason why you want to have a great company culture is for economic benefit. If you're have a what I now call a people first culture, customers are going to want to spend more money with you. They're going to refer you more, right? Just post on social media and all this. And then the economic output of that is what I call reward, and that is profit. And it's nice to have a profitable business. I'm capitalistic. I want profitable businesses. I want to employ more people. I want to pay them more. But it really does come from the company culture. So it's all intertwined together: company culture, customer experience, employee performance, and then the output or the reward is an economic success. So I said earlier that I'm not an academic. I'm not an academic in the traditional sense, but I am a student. So what I would do I would have my Google alerts set for like customer experience management, customer centricity. This is in 2008. So every day I would get Google sending me a bunch of links to read, and I would just absorb all of this education. I would reach out to people who seemed like they were experts in these topics on LinkedIn. Brian Scudamore sent me to Henderson, Nevada in 2008 to go investigate what this shoe retailer was doing. That shoe retailer was Zappos.com. So I went there. I got time with their CEO and Tony Shea, and just study. Like every case study or white paper ever written on customer experience or company culture, I probably have read it. So that's how I self-educate myself. And I didn't have a lot of money to go to Harvard or any of these places to master my craft. So I said, I'm just going to do this, you know, the grassroots guerrilla way, and just read and watch videos and look. 2024, company culture, customer experience management are big focuses of organizations of all sizes across all industries and different parts of the world. And that's part of the reason why my coaching program and my keynote speaking is in demand, is because it's all relevant. It doesn't matter. Like I coach dental practices. I coach a guy named Kyle Robertson who oversees 35 electricians and owns an electrical company. Logistics. Like, it doesn't matter. If you have somebody that pays you, you are in the customer experience business.
There's so much in there that makes me feel a little bit more confident about my background and how I serve as well. And there's a key point that my listeners should really take note of, is that you had said you had never really been in the restaurant business, yet you are an entrepreneur in that space now.
Mhm.
You coach a lot of people and companies on customer experience and culture, but you've never done certain industries, but the value and insights that you provide are very transferable. So for anybody out there that says, I cannot, and again, there's that N apostrophe T, that unt, apply for a particular job in an industry, you're measuring yourself in the wrong way. You need to measure yourself against your value proposition or your value, or what has been the impact or outcome of the work that you do. People will invest in the culture, the profitability, the systems, the sustainability, regardless of the industry, because after a while, that's what they want to hear about and not necessarily where you came from. So degree, university, it's nice when you come out, but it's what the impact you've had on the world is what really matters. And don't hold yourself back just because you haven't done a particular thing.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, regardless of your industry or what you sell, it's human behavior that we have to manage. It's the human behavior of the people that come to our workplaces and how we manage their performance. Your leadership is human behavior. how customers interact with your organization and what they buy, when they buy, human behavior. So, in a way, business is a study of human behavior and psychology. And do you think that is intercepted by what the service of the product is? Whether it's a salad or a bowl or smoothie like me, or a tooth extraction for a dental practice, doesn't matter. That's just the thing you do, right? It could be anything.
So, such great insight, and we could go on and on about company culture, but I want to shine a little bit of a light now on some of the people first culture initiatives that you have had within your how do you pronounce it? Brasa Peruvian kitchen?
You got it right the first time.
Rasa. Okay.
Yeah.
You're very unique, and this is where I want you to really shine because what you do and how you do it is so different. So you have an area of expertise or insight around density. Never heard that terminology before. I'd love for you to share your unique insight in that area.
Yes. So talent density was learned from Netflix. They coined that phrase. And essentially, that means pay people more, have less people. So when I read this book, No Rules Rules, it was co-written by Aaron Meyer, a business professor, and Reed Hastings, the former CEO of Netflix. And essentially, what the book recounts is Aaron Meyer going the inside of Netflix and being like, all right, let me take a look under the hood here. And it's co authored by the CEO of Netflix. Now, the great part of the book is that the CEO, Reed Hastings, said, talk to anybody you want here. I'm not going to tell you who to talk to. Do what you want, hang out in the offices for as long as you want. So it was a real, like, look under the hood moment of the company. And one of the chapters talks about talent density and how they hire their engineers in a very competitive market. Facebook, you know, Netflix and all these tech companies are all gunning for the best in class engineers. And this extends to other departments within Netflix as well, I believe, in that we're going to pay you the most, but you're going to have to earn it and keep it. And they have this, and because you're so good, you actually perform at 1.5 people. Therefore, our labor percentages are actually going to be less, but we're going to manage you very closely. And they do this thing called the keeper test. So they go to their managers and regularly ask them to do the keeper test, which is if somebody on your team quit, who would you fight really hard for to keep? This person, this person, this person. Okay. You should be prepared to walk away from the other people, or at least coach them to get to be on your keeper list. So talent density, I read that and I said, wait a second, why wouldn't this work for restaurants? Restaurants are known for having complicated compensation models. They're known for high turnover, um, minimum wage, right? At Brasa Peruvian Kitchen, I have banned the words minimum wage. We use starting income. Like if you think about minimum and wage, those two words should not be in a single sentence together. How demoralizing is that? Right? But yet, the companies and leaders that pay minimum wage are confused in why they have high turnover, high absenteeism, low productivity. The writing's on the wall. So I said, I'm going to do this. So we pay 21% higher than comparable restaurants, both in Toronto and in New York. Now, when I told my friends this, my peers in the restaurant industry, they said, this isn't going to work. And I said, well, maybe my stubbornness, Deb, is what has gotten me to where I am today. Because when I have a vision for something, I'm like, I'm doing it and I'm stubborn with it. Um, Stubborn with the vision, flexible on the details, as uh, somebody once told me. So we pay more, and our turnover last year was only 17%, 1 7. The industry typically has 75 to 100% year over year turnover. all of which eats at your profitability, recruiting, training, mistakes, all these things with new team members. And it feels good to pay more because our mission statement, word for word, Deb, it's stitched in my brain. I don't need a piece of paper to read it. I'll recite it for you now. To build a company that the world needs more of, one where everyday people are empowered to make great money, achieve career growth, and help close the income equality gap. And notice how I don't talk about food, fresh this, fresh that. Don't care about that. I know what my customers care about the most are three things, and we call them the three P's. Have phenomenal products that are habitually flavorful. Our properties, meaning our restaurants, are clinically clean, and our people are graciously hospitable. That drives profitability. One of the tools that I have in my toolkit to increase engagement on the team member side is pay them more. And word of mouth spreads. We get about 1,000 across New York, and in Toronto we get over 1,000 people applying to work for us a week. So we are not short on candidates in an industry that throws their hands in the air and says nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to work for low pay and poor leadership, regardless of industry.
So what you say resonates so much with me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for crafting what is so important and purposeful. It focuses on leading indicators of, taking care of people, treating them like a human being versus a number, not focusing on the profitability, but if you treat people right, the profitability will come here. Often people will be short-sighted, not properly compensate, and then they wonder why they have a high turnover, high expenses. Their bottom line profitability is not where it needs to be. You have flipped this on its head and focus on, again, humanity. Humans run the universe. They are the ones that engage with your customers. They work for a great culture. The word spreads. And it's funny, I have a new client that is now struggling with the compensation structure. And they also know that not only do they need to pay people better to assure they retain the top talent, but they also want to proliferate the amazing culture they have through better marketing, so that people not only value being compensated well, but also value in a place that values humans as well. So, this is exactly why I brought you onto the podcast for these kinds of personas. So, thank you for your leadership in that area and a wonderful mission statement.
Yeah, we actually call it the why do we exist statement.
Mm.
And that's at the core of it. One of the, look, I'm not going to close the income equality gap myself, but I'm not going to be a contributor to paying minimum wage. Um, and I thought of my parents as well too when I was crafting this, like hardworking immigrants to Canada in the 70s. Just good people. Like, can we stop idolizing billionaires and just like put the people that actually power our economies up on a pedestal? Like, those are the people I want to celebrate, right? So
So we're
I'll
so
I'll
aligned on that.
try to
People
do my
first.
part. Yeah.
And there's so many people I want to introduce you to because they've got the same persona and view on life as well. But you're a trailblazer in a few areas as well. So another topic that we talked about before we got on here was your pay transparency. And sometimes we keep compensation and pay so secretive that it becomes a mystery and almost a point of contention. What are you getting paid? What are you getting paid? But you
Yeah.
talk about complete pay transparency. Tell me more about that and how has it benefited you?
Yeah, even sitting at my desk or cubicle in 2007 working at 1-800 Got Junk, um, pay is what secures our livelihood, whether you're in your early 20s or as you get older and have other responsibility like children. And I don't think it should be taboo to talk about the thing that helps secure our livelihoods. And I had always wanted to have a company and reveal pay, including my own. And I would think that could this not be a motivator for people? If you saw like, wow, my manager earns that, I want that too. Well, how do I do it? Tell me how you did it. right? And as leaders, we should be fostering that next layer of leadership all throughout our organizations. When companies say they're transparent but aren't with compensation, then you're not transparent. That's like me being like, I'm kind, but not to people with blonde hair. You either go all the way or you don't get the permission to call yourself that thing of transparency. So that's one thing. And then two, when companies say, if you talk about compensation, we're going to punish you in one form or another, whatever words they so choose, you're not punishing them. You're fracturing the trust that they have with your company and your leadership. It is a radical, novel idea to do this. And I don't do salary bands. I do to the penny of what they earn. And we put this on a document that everybody has access to on our Google Drive, again, including my own. And it's their name. When did they join the company? What were they earning when they joined the company? What role do they have within the organization currently? What do they earn now? And then the last column, which is the team member journey, is a description of what have they done to go from X to Y. So that if Deb sees, why does Johnny earn this much? Okay, let me go read it. Oh, I see. So every time a team member gets a phenomenal Google review where their name is mentioned, part of our SOP is go to the people first pay transparency document and record that. And to make it undeniable that, oh, I know why that person has been promoted 2 times before me, right? Make performance undeniable and watch how that elevates the entire organization because fair is fair and meritocracy is a word for a reason. For me, in my company, I do not focus on DEI. I do not have strategies for DEI. Instead, the highest paid people are the highest performers. It so happens that females actually earn more in my company than males do. And this is not by design, it's just how it's mathed out. Hire good people according to your core values, give them system and process to be able to do the job exceptionally, watch their careers grow, and then promote according to who is performing the best. When I go to my management meeting, the majority of people on the call are females. And I was asked at a JP Morgan Chase conference, and the reason that I'm bringing this up, during Q&A after I gave my keynote, somebody had asked, what DEI philosophies or strategies you have. And I looked down and I remember thinking to myself, what does my HR person want me to say? And I said, I'm going to say what's true. I said, I don't have any. I'm a son of immigrants. My name is Michel. Like I've been discriminated my entire life, but and I just don't know how to. And the fact that some companies have to have committees is beyond me. I'm not naive to the topic though. I understand it, and it's unfortunate. But if you're a good-hearted person that works hard, whether you have a degree or not, you're going to do really well at Brasa Peruvian Kitchen. And I'm excited to grow, and I'm excited to bring a lot of people with me.
My heart. You're speaking to my heart because your strength, your message needs to transcend all CEOs and other leaders. So anybody listening to this, if you're inspired, because I know I'm inspired, please share this episode with others. I too have been one that I never found that I was a disadvantage. I know that through hard work, persistence, mitigating risk, or going where I thought I was valued, I've been able to realize success and how I define it, and never accepted the narrative that I'm disadvantaged. And to your point, I also agree. Yes, there were times, whether it was culture or specific period in time, where people may not have had all the opportunities, but there are a lot of people who have taken advantage of opportunities and run with it, and there were no DEI initiatives. So thank you so much for bringing that out. But I want to give you the floor one last time. This has been an amazing conversation. I know you and I could talk on and on, but I want people who have gotten a taste of what you are like and the great food, hopefully they will get a chance to sample. Give us a few last thoughts for our listeners, and how can people connect with you?
Yeah, I truly believe that, DEI is more DNA, and my parents get the crown on their heads for any successes that I've had. My dad is the hardest working human being you've ever met, and my mom is an angel on earth, both with just the kindest DNA, which has transcended into my leadership ability. And I haven't taken leadership coaching or anything like this. It's just first principles thinking. Is this the right thing consciously to do? Then do it. Yeah, if you want to connect with me, I love meeting professionals all over the world. This is my career, yes, but I don't consider it work when I meet with professionals to be able to share my expertise. Teams by MichelFalcon.com is the coaching program. My parents blessed and cursed me with my name. They blessed me because um, I'm easy to find. They cursed me because two-thirds of the world think my name's Michael, which is interesting because my middle name is Alexander, and up until a week before I was supposed to be born, I was supposed to be named Eric, and then my dad called an audible, and then you know, made things a little difficult for me. But Michelle Falcon, Google me anywhere, whether it's connecting on LinkedIn or Instagram or my personal website, michellefalcon.com. And I said earlier that the world has a lot of marketers and PR professionals, and rightfully so. And many of them are doing phenomenal work, but there's not enough people focus on company culture, customer experience, and the performance of employees. Um, if I was to do my career all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. These topics are in high demand. And Deb, you see this, right? With your clients, every pain point in a business comes down to a people function because it's the human behavior that is powering these companies. Um, if you solve the culture part, you'll solve 99% of your headaches or your shortcomings or misses of goals and such. So, Brasa Peruvian Kitchen, we are a fast casual restaurant serving warm bowls, superfood smoothies, and more with real Peruvian flavors and organic superfoods. In Toronto, in New York, and hopefully we'll be stamping these great restaurants all throughout North America and globally.
Oh, so I'm getting hungry. But and thank you so much for all of your inspiration. I want to
It's been a
thank you for
pleasure.
dropping in on the podcast, and I do wish you and your family well and continued success.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being invited.